I know, what a horror show, right? So you guys are thinking, no way. Yes. So this spider, it says this mother spider is actually being selfish, not altruistic, when she lets her offspring eat her alive. Ew, what? Okay. So yeah, it's this idea that really, of course, she's not thinking about this, but her DNA is in her progeny, and so she's giving them a leg up. Yeah. All right. So Darwin's theory, he thought natural selection generally works to produce selfish behavior, not selfless. So altruistic appearing behavior is common. Is it fatal to his theory? And so we realize, no, it's not. Okay. So apparent acts of altruism, kindness towards close relatives, kin selection, kindness towards unrelated individuals, reciprocal altruism. So types of apparent acts of altruism. So doing nice things for others. Okay. So many behaviors in the animal world appear to be altruistic. In almost all cases, the apparent acts of altruism are not truly altruistic. They have evolved as a consequence of either kin selection or reciprocal altruism, and from an evolutionary perspective are beneficial to the individual engaging in the behavior. So the idea of the ground squirrels, right? Here, let me move me out of here again. Okay. So the idea of the ground squirrels. So she's really being selfish because she is protecting her genes in her progeny. All right. And again, we saw that if we transplanted her. So really, there's direct fitness, but there's indirect fitness, the reproductive output brought about by altruistic behavior towards close kin. So we're looking at that too. All right. So apparent altruism towards unrelated individual can evolve through reciprocal altruism. So if we say reciprocal, something's reciprocal, what does that mean? I'm going to reciprocate. Like I'm going to return the favor, okay? So we see this in vampire bats. Ooh, how interesting, yeah? It says, okay, this sounds disgusting, but here we go. A vampire bat may vomit a blood meal for an unrelated individual, saving that individual's life. Bats only do this for individuals that will return the favor. So their own survival is improved in the long run and the behavior is favored by natural selection. By the way, the bats will remember who reciprocates and who doesn't, and then they'll help those who reciprocate. So it's reciprocal altruism. All right. Yeah. So in order for reciprocal altruism to occur, certain conditions must be met. Repeated interactions among individuals, the benefit to the recipient must be significantly greater. The ability to recognize and punish cheaters. So the bats do that, right? If someone's not going to reciprocate, they won't help them in the future. So friendships. Why do you develop friendships? Is it because you're nice and you're kind? Or do you really want something in return, right? We see that. Why is it easier to remember gossip, right? We remember the bad stuff. Again, okay. So this is Jay Phelan. He's the author of the book. So he talks about that. All right. It says in an alien environment, behaviors produced by natural selection may no longer be adaptive. So with natural selection, right? So we're talking about evolution in the population, right? So we're talking about changes in the population over time. With natural selection, we're looking at the environment and how are the behaviors or how are the physical characteristics more fit, okay, in that environment. Well, what if the environment changes? If the environment changes, now could those traits no longer be adaptive? And the answer is yes, okay? So yes. Selfish genes win out over group selection. We see that being selfish is actually what is more inherent, right? So they actually have done a study It says proportion of selfish behavior, proportion of selfless behaviors in the green, proportion of selfish behaviors in the blue, and over time we see the selfish behaviors more common. All right, now the end of this chapter, and it's very interesting. We could be talking about sex and sexual conflict and breeding behaviors, right? So we see that there's an evolutionary underlying theme. Yeah. Big differences in how much males and females invest in reproduction. This is real, right? This is an actual egg. It's huge. And then here are the sperm, okay? So in reality, mom, okay, this sounds weird, okay, the idea of this. The female, what is the definition of female? What's the definition of male? Biologically speaking, okay? Female produces the larger gamete, the larger sex cell. Male produces a smaller gamete, the smaller sex cell. And so they go into, it's all about energy and how much energy are you using or are you losing. It says the mother's material contribution to the offspring exceeds the father. And it depends what kind of organisms you're talking about. When you think about mammals means mama. Mama makes milk, and milk requires a lot of energy. Right? So not only does mama give the big gamete, which, you know, is more contribution, mama also makes milk. And so the survival of the baby is really important, again, because of that energy contribution. So evolution of differences in male-female behaviors, extent of energetic differences in their reproductive investment. So we see differences in male reproductive and female reproductive investment. Now we have to consider what kind of animal are we talking about? Are we talking about birds? Are we talking about reptiles? Are we talking about insects? Are we talking about mammals, right? Why do males usually compete for females rather than the opposite? And really, okay, so male and female reproductive investment differs across species. So we'll look at 3 categories. We'll look at mammals, we'll look at birds, and we'll look at reptiles, okay? So for mammals, gestation's internal, right? Mama, the baby's inside the uterus. That takes a lot of energy. Lactation, mama feeds the baby milk. A lot of investment on mom's part. Versus birds. Birds, gestation's external, right? A bird lays an egg, right? And then there's no lactation. So both parents can be involved with getting food for the baby. Versus fish, amphibians, we can look at reptiles also. Fertilization's external. And then, like here, it depends on what kind of organism you're talking about. Maybe I'll move down here. Okay. Amphibian eggs are left to develop on their own. There's very little maternal-paternal reproduction investment. So it seems like reproductive investment is linked to energy and how much energy it takes to raise the kids, okay, or not. So, evolution differences in male-female behaviors, extensive energetic differences in the reproductive investment, right, with paternity. Okay. Males, females are vulnerable at different stages of reproductive exchange, right? So, it says that the sex that invests more will be more discriminating. So in this case, if mama is putting more energy, she's going to be more discriminating. The sex that invests less will compete against themselves for access. And that competition is pretty risky in itself, right? So making mating calls, that's risky because predators are going to hear, or fighting with other males for territory, for resources, that's risky. So in regards to sex and in regards to procreation and having babies, there's energetic consequences for both having the babies or trying to acquire a mate. Yes, okay. Potential exploitation, okay. Tremendous variability across species in male-female behaviors. Yes, there's tremendous differences. Tactics in getting a mate, competition, courtships can help males and females secure. So this is an important picture here. This is figure 9-21, so take a look at it. So different animals do this differently. Courtship rituals, really neat. I'll put some videos so you can look at them, right? So birds do dances, they do songs, trying to attract a mate. Some animals can have control over variable resources, and then the female will only mate with the males that have those good resources. And so they're showing, hey, I'm strong, I could do this, right? Gifts up front. Look at these insects. It says a female hanging fly will not mate with a male unless he brings her a large offering of food. Good looks, right? Birds. Usually with birds, the males are the prettier ones. Why? Because they're trying to attract a female. So a female peacock is attracted to a male with the most beautiful tail and feathers. And in reality, we see that there's an evolutionary link to that, because if you have beautiful feathers, first of all, you're attracting predators again. So if you can have beautiful feathers and still stay alive, wow, you're pretty strong. Creating beautiful feathers. To create beautiful feathers, that means you're getting a lot of resources, you're getting a lot of food. Again, strength. And the females will mate with those males because this idea, and again, of course, this is all subconscious, right? They want to have babies that can survive also, right? So that idea of survival of the fittest. Okay, tactics for keeping a mate guarding. Animals could do this. Okay, so they talk about that, right? So they'll do that. In some frog species, individual bouts of mating continue for several months. This is equivalent in human of 10-year-long episodes of intercourse. That sounds horrible, right? Here, right, reptiles, insects, many mammalian species, right? Again, we can have competition on even a cellular level. Extreme mate guarding here. The male black widow spider ensures his paternity by breaking off his sexual organ inside the female, and then he's eaten in the process. Sounds horrible again. Paternity can be uncertain, of course, right? We always know who mom is, but we don't know who dad is, right? So for the males in this case, there's some vulnerability in that sense. Okay. All right, that was just an example. They have a study there. Monogamy versus polygamy, monogamous relationships, polygamous relationships, we see different patterns. Okay, it says mating patterns can vary across human and animal culture. So polygamy in elephant seals, where you have a male and the male has a harem, right? But only the strongest, biggest male can do this. These are these elephant seals. Look at that. Those are marks from their tusks because they're fighting, right? And only the dominant male gets to breed. And if the dominant male gets to breed, he's passing on his genes to his progeny. So again, this idea of fitness. And then we have fitness in the population. Polygamy, having more than one mate. Monogamy, only having, you have like a pair bond. And we actually see this in animals. There's pair bonds, monogamous, and we see this in birds. It's kind of wild. 90% of birds appear to be monogamous. So when you have a mating pair, they mate for life, right? And then there's that energy contribution. Both, okay, males and females usually take care of the babies. Are humans monogamous or polygamous? You can think about that. The author is funny and he has his idea of that. Sexual dimorphism, so we can see differences in male and female bodies, seems to be an indicator of population's mating behavior. So if there's more differences between males and females associated with sexual dimorphism, and then sexual monomorphism, where they look similar. Okay, so I think, oh, that's right. The last part of this is communication. And yes, evolution has something to do with communication. Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, I'll have one